Hello, my name is Domani Turner-Ward, and my honors thesis project is developing a conservation program plan for the University of West Florida. UWF is a relatively small school in the northwest corner of the Florida Panhandle. This map of the main campus demonstrates the over 1,000 acres that have recently been designated for conservation at our campus. The habitat types within this area includes swamp forest, marsh, hammock, and sandhill, and there is extensive endangered longleaf pine habitat here as well. Longleaf pine once occurred throughout most of the southeastern United States, but it now takes up only a fraction of its historical range due to deforestation for timber and urban development. It is important to properly manage longleaf pine habitat to mitigate concerns such as wildfires and to make sure that it is ecologically functional. It is the 2021 to 2031 UWF Comprehensive Campus Master Plan that designates these lands for conservation. Previous campus master plans have actually slated these areas for development, but thankfully that did not occur, and we have been left with a blank slate for conservation at UWF, thanks to the legacy that the current administration has decided they want to leave. The first guiding principle of this campus master plan is to improve a sense of place on campus, focusing on accessibility, placemaking, and conservation. And this project responds specifically to Policy 2.1.3, which is to establish an environmental stewardship program for the university to follow. The University of West Florida has no history of a conservation program at the campus, so we're starting with a completely blank slate and must develop something completely from scratch. In order to develop a foundation for such a program, I am consulting what has already been done and found to be best practice through case studies, literature reviews, and capstone teamwork. My work will provide a foundation for a proposal for a conservation program at UWF that will be presented to the UWF administration. In my case studies, I researched conservation programs at other higher education institutions throughout Florida, and I reached out to several for interview. I was able to connect with the UF Conservation and Land Management Plan, the UF Natural Area Teaching Laboratory, the USF Environmental and Conservation Outreach, Research and Education System, and the UCF Arboretum and Sustainability Initiatives. By speaking with the leaders of these programs, I was able to gain insight into what does and does not work at higher education institutions with conservation lands similar to our own. Throughout this process, several themes emerged. One of the most striking themes that I saw was that there is a lot more success seen with programs that have fully funded, dedicated staff who are able to dedicate all of their time and responsibilities to managing a conservation program, fostering relationships across campus, and facilitating collaboration on projects. There were a lot more challenges seen in programs such as the UF Calm Plan, where a senior campus planner who had many other responsibilities was in charge of the program, as they could not dedicate all of their time to doing what must be done to manage a fully functional program. However, it is incredibly important that we look to programs such as the UF Calm Plan, as it is uncertain if and when UWF's conservation program might receive funding. So learning what can be done if we don't get any money at all is extremely valuable. All these programs, regardless of funding, indicated that they achieved their greatest accomplishments through collaboration with other programs and organizations throughout their communities at the university and beyond. In particular, we saw this with burn programs, where there was partnership with the Florida Forest Service and other universities to successfully maintain prescribed burn programs on their campuses. It would be quite valuable for us to see this model and try to do so as well as we move towards our own prescribed burn program to manage our longleaf pine system. We received phenomenal advice and insight throughout all these interviews, and there are certain things that have stuck with me in particular. One thing that has particularly informed the rest of my research was said by Rachel Mendel, the UF Senior Campus Planner. She told me the people responsible for implementing this plan are not conservationists. They are not environmentalists. They are normally people way at the top who have maybe 10 minutes to listen to what you need. I think that's what's forgotten by the people who make these plans and care the most about them, that the implementers are not the creators. So, how do you incorporate what they need to hear into the plan? And that is what I have tried to discover throughout my literature review and capstone teamwork. In my literature review, I faced some challenges finding resources dedicated specifically to conservation at higher education institutions, as much of it instead applied to conservation degree programs at such institutions or to sustainability initiatives such as energy use reduction. However, I was able to find some very useful information that fit into three main categories. Among conservation management models, I found community-based forest management, the application of the EcoCity model to universities as eco-campus, and marketing of green schools. Among conservation education methods, I found affective learning, experiential learning, and something known as a critical pedagogy of place, which engages colonial narratives and unpacking environmental injustice. Finally, among community development strategies, I found place-based and data-rich citizen science as a way to enhance a community's sense of ownership over land and interest in its conservation. And I found something known as the hardware-software cyclic platform process, something of particular interest for this project. Hardware-software cycle is a method to develop a holistic conservation program foundation. Here, hardware and software are structural, with hardware being spatial structure and land use, and software being social systems, regulation, and leadership. Meanwhile, hardware is an emotional mechanism comprised of environmental awareness and ethics. It is a non-structural addition to these more typically seen aspects of conservation programs in order to give them resilience and voluntary input from the community. Hardware is cultural and it must be built through facilitation of engagement with the environment. And that is what we sought to do throughout our capstone teamwork. Throughout my thesis, I partook in the Community Engagement through Environmental Science capstone course. In this course, 4 different teams worked to develop hardware in the University of West Florida community. We worked to learn how to facilitate citizen science, community education, recreation, and an Argos Conservation Core Collective. I was on the team focused on the Argos Conservation Core Collective, or AC3. The goal of AC3 was to develop a conservation program at UWF with the motto to educate, manage, and protect. We worked to build a foundation for such a program through 3 main methods. First, we worked to gain an understanding both of best practice in conservation management and of the UWF community at large. In order to gain an understanding of conservation practice, we referred to the results of my case studies, and we toured various conservation areas on both federal, county, and private lands. We then networked throughout the university community, meeting with faculty, staff, and students to gain an understanding of the relationship that individuals have to our natural areas and ways that they think that the community could be served well. We also developed program components based on our understanding and networking, including the development of a community hub, the development of a regional conservation conference, and the potential of an advisory board for our conservation areas. All of these are things that could increase hardware throughout our community and facilitate programming inside of our conservation areas. The ultimate product of my work takes the form of a written thesis that details my research methods, results and findings, and recommendations based on literature review, case studies, and capstone teamwork. This, in turn, will form the foundation for a program proposal that will be presented to the UWF administration for a conservation program. This has been a challenging and rewarding journey, and something that stuck with me from the interviews was said by Jennifer Elliott, the UCF Director of Arboretum and Sustainability Initiatives. She encouraged me to expect ebbs and flows and try not to think about it so much as a linear path, because you're going to have to be flexible in your resources and time and the students that are interested in it. Don't get down if it's not working. Just keep plowing. It has been incredible to work on a project with true potential to contribute to the UWF community, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has made this possible. Chastity Hobbs, my honors thesis mentor, the UWF Office of Undergraduate Research, who have made it possible for me to present this work at NCUR, the interviewees at UF, USF, and UCF, who have offered such incredible insight, and my community engagement through environmental science team members. You all have my eternal gratitude. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present and to apply to the HIP Showcase. It has been an absolute joy to share my work. I would be happy to take any questions at my student email, adt67 at students.uwf.edu. And I again thank you and hope you have a wonderful day.